Good afternoon once again, and welcome back to the WUCC 2018. We've got a tremendous matchup ahead of the men's division. CUSB from Bologna, Italy, and Comunidad El Oso from Bogota. Evan Lepler, Ian Toner in shotgun for this one. Both these teams have been impressive. Both these teams are in the mix to try to compete with that top tier. Comunidad El Oso lost this morning to Clapham. CUSB got the better of Clapham this morning. It's quite a pool, and this should be an impressive showcase.
Well, Oso has an incredible opportunity on their hands. Right now, they sit at 2-1. CUSB from Bologna sits at 3-0. They're in the driver's seat. But if Oso can pull off a sizable upset here, they're going to force a three-way tie atop the pool between CUSB, Clapham, and Oso that would then go to point differential. All three of those teams would potentially have beat each other by the end of today's action.
That would be a spicy situation for sure. This field has been full of classics today. Hong Kong and Argentina in the mixed division went down to the wire. You just saw Crash beat Freak Show on Universe. When these two teams, Ian, met to start play in Lecco, they went to Universe as well. CUSB won that game over Oso. We're underway. The Colombians receiving to start. There is some expat flair on both of these teams. Madison, Wisconsin native Kevin Brown coming for the under. And contact. These are two teams that both like to play very physical. And I'll tell you, watching CUSB play against Clapham in the finals at Windmill, the way they started that game with defensive intensity, reminiscent of how they started this game today. That's Thomas Edmonds making the play to get CUSB a chance for a break.
Edmonds, another one of those expat pickups. His grandfather was born in Italy. He's got experience with Pittsburgh and Sabanur, Boston Ironside. Great experience to have on your squad.
Cross field, was he in bounds? Alessandro Fiorentino arguing that he was, and now accepting the contrary call. Quickly, Ivan Cantu. This is Herman Forero with the disc. The way that Oso warmed up for this game was unlike anything I've ever seen. They play 2 games a day on most cases here at Worlds. Apparently they do a very serious warm-up in the morning and then a goofy, silly warm-up for their second game filled with games. In this particular situation, they all stuffed their jerseys in the back of their shorts, hanging out from behind like flags. And it was some game where you had to try to grab the other teammate's shirt and you're wiggling around to try to avoid your shirt being taken. I don't really know how much that game gets you ready to play Ultimate, but it definitely calms you down and makes you feel like you're having a good time.
And every man for yourself, capture the flag setting, really calms the nerves, gets you thinking about having fun as you're getting out there and ready to compete.
Ivan Alba, veteran for Colombian Ultimate, silver medal winner at the World Games last year in Wrocław, Poland. Pivoting, finds his man, Forero.
Lots of offhand backhands here from this handling core in the red zone.
A little too much heat, though, on that shot from Alba in short space. Fiorentino fires. He's got a man to the end zone. Cantu is there. And Bologna begins with a break.
Well, it's no secret that CUSB's D-line offense is going to fast break every opportunity they get. We saw Davide Mori picking the disc up and moving it immediately after the turnover. And this finishing shot to Cantu, punishing Oso for its unfortunate red zone turnover. Davide Mori, the man who picked up the disc for CUSB after that turnover, is an ultimate journeyman of sorts. Many accomplishments under his belt. He's done so much for the Bologna ultimate community, the Italian ultimate community as a whole, developing this next generation of players that are now on the primary stage. He actually spent some time in Colombia 9 years ago playing with Comunidad El Oso.
Yeah, he has seen it all in the world of ultimate, and he's a leader on this team. You played against Davide?
I have played against Davide. As I competed in the World Ultimate Club Championships in 2014 in Lecco, he also showed me some great hospitality while I was there competing with Johnny Bravo.
Nice. Oso, its second chance on offense. Diego Afanador to Herman Forero. Nazar Mbai-Vogel on the mark. Another ultimate journeyman of sorts. Mbai-Vogel from France originally. And travel was called. This is coming back. Mbai-Vogel called the travel. Naz, originally from France, now living in Montreal. Spent a lot of time in Sweden, in Geneva. His wife is playing for a Swedish team. Switzerland team, excuse me.
And it looked like the Bologna defense was switching the force multiple times earlier in the point. Got to have everyone on the same page for defensive cohesion as that disc goes off the hands of Ivan.
Eduardo Trombetti was there. He nicked it, but didn't disrupt it enough. That shot ill-advised into the defensive pressure.
And that's just an unfortunate turnover there from Mbai-Vogel. That disc staying on his finger a little longer than he would like.
Uncharacteristic for Nasser. Forero. Again downfield. Also at midfield. Efrain Herrera. And another stoppage. And an Oso player is shaken up at the back of the stack. Well, this game has started with a strange pace. It was about 10 minutes tardy in initiating because of the length of the game before it. And these stoppages, and
not to mention the length of the game before that that you were on the mic for.
And yet the argument I've made for such a long time that a hard cap is foolish, the world's still moving on. We started 10 minutes late, and it's no problem at all. I always love to see the team winning by scoring. And sometimes at USAU events, we don't see that.
Yeah, I've been on the other side of that, winning games in hard cap where we don't score the last goal. It's not the greatest feeling, not inspiring a lot of confidence as we see Felipe Avila getting helped off the pitch. We'll hope he's able to return.
Pretty good crosswind right now from the far side of the field to the near side. This is Brown under, marked by Edmonds. They've played against each other in the AUDL. Brown with the Madison Radicals and Edmonds with the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. And another injury downfield, this time a Bologna player shaken up.
And you mentioned this, Evan, we shouldn't be surprised to see a physical matchup between these two. Bologna prides itself on its fitness, intense physical defense. Gabriela Calarota being helped off the pitch. part of that squad that made the tremendous run to the gold medal game in Perth at the Under-24 World Championships, falling just short to the Americans back in January.
It was that effort from the Italian delegation that makes you think Bologna could be a real player at this event as well. The young talent rising up, gaining more confidence in seasoning in the international game. This is Herrera. Active mark from Bruno Mine. Alba is going to be heavily involved in the Oso effort. It's been Forero, Herrera, and Alba almost exclusively so far for Oso. Trying to get someone else involved. Well, it's Diego Arango in the end zone, hauling in the hammer. And Oso wasn't necessarily an easy trip down the field, but ultimately they do secure the offensive hold.
Well, they need to get their offense off the pitch after getting broken on that first point. A marathon second point here. And nice work by Alba. It may be harder for those of you at home to tell, but we do have a notable crosswind. The earlier rounds this morning, things were almost perfectly still. But right now, that crosswind going from that far sideline to our near sideline here in the commentator's booth. Good work by Alba, using the wind to curve that hammer back into his receiver's chest.
So Oso gets his D-line out on the field. Big Esteban Ceballos is out there. Imagine he'll take one of the taller downfield threats from Bologna.
And interesting to note, Evan, the Bologna offensive unit is made up predominantly of non-Italians. You've got Rumi Tejpar out there, others from around Europe who've come to call Bologna their home club, or at least pick up for this tournament.
Tejpar downfield for Wolfgang Mitterer. This is Francini Tommaso. And a touch for Alessandro De Luca. De Luca, just 17 years old, has certainly earned his spot as a young gun on this CUSB O-line.
Scary to think about his potential if he's starting on the O-line of a top 5 world championship seed at 17 years old.
Remember that name, Alessandro De Luca. That's something that Derek Alexander did for Furious George back in the day. Team Canada, 2008. May have been 18 or 19, but basically starting on offense for a world championship team. Here's Tommaso on the brink of the goal line. Couldn't get it to Tejpar, so he swings it around for Fabio Coppi. Now looking to the back of the goal, and it is Simone Gasparini, another youngster, just 21 years of age. There certainly was some Italian flavor to that offensive hold for the Bologna squad.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see how long some of these young contributors have been playing the game of Ultimate. Credit to the youth programs in Bologna and the surrounding communities for getting these players started at middle school and high school ages so that they're ready to compete once they're in university stage.
So Gasparini wide open, 21-year-old physics student, understanding that flight and angle of the disc with ease. Oso back on O. The Bear, founded 2002-2003. Spot in Bogota known as El Oso Park, where some of the founders of the team met there, started playing 4-on-4 ulti, coined Comunidad al Oso in 2003. Won nationals 5 times. And certainly have become a key player in Colombian Ultimate. And by Vogel getting ready to pull. That guy was particularly pleased that France hoisted the World Cup earlier this week. Again, it's Alba quarterbacking the Colombia attack. Kevin Brown was injured for much of the spring, had an ankle injury mid-May playing in the AUDL. Did not return to the field to the very end of June. But when he did return, he looked very good. Brown dealt with a heel injury in the past that limited his performance as well. Younger brother of Andrew Brown, who had plenty of experience at World Championships, playing with Vancouver. I believe there's a 8-9 year gap between Andrew and Kevin. They're such different players. Andrew, one of the best decision makers, pure throwers in the game, and Kevin Brown, a different type of athlete. But he, don't mistake yourself, he can also throw pretty good too.
He's got the full arsenal of throws, a very well-rounded player, and he usually commands some top downfield matchups when he starts on offensive units for his team. Again, physical defense from Bologna causing some discussion and stoppages.
Did you and Kevin play U23 the same year?
We did. We were teammates back then, and he was an anchor for our defensive unit.
He was a captain of the team, wasn't
he? He was not a captain of that team.
He was 2 years later.
Correct.
That was when you had aged out, old man. Oso just out of the reach of Forero. And not bothering to walk it up to the front of the goal line, just picking it up and initiating play. That's something that they have called, and if it was better execution, it might have worked, because Oso was genuinely caught off guard, but Davide Mori's throw never came back in bounds, and instead this is going to be a gift for the community.
Well, like we said, Oso CUSB is not going to waste any time getting off to the races after those turnovers, looking to fast break, looking to quick strike, not giving the opposing offense a chance to set.
Alba looking for Afanador, perfecto. 2-2.
Still have yet to see a clean O point from Comunidad al Oso.
Well, both of these teams have prided themselves on their defensive intensity and their physicality. So if there were two teams that are both capable offensively, but still could have trouble scoring against the opposition, I think this is that matchup.
Just a tough point there for Davide.
Only one break so far. CUSB on the first point of the game. 3 holds since, so 2-all, but Italy leading by a break. Ian Castaneda, 24-year-old who was a professional karate competitor before his ultimate career, ready to launch the pull.
Not going to cross him off the field.
Playing on the Hong Kong team, we had an American with a boatload of karate experience. It's actually Kyle Romard from the Argentina team, plays for the University of Cincinnati. Wonder if they could put on a demonstration for us later. Tejpar lets it rip. He didn't have anybody going deep. Hermitslav turn on the Jets late, and he makes the catch over the defender. Did he hang on to the disc long enough, and did he foul Felipe Sanchez?
It looks like Hermitslav is not going to contest the foul call. we get a closer look here. The Oso defender had position. Was there a forearm on his back as he went up?
It's one of those plays, it's so hard to tell. Tejpar wants this throw back because he didn't have a deep cutter. Now to live action, Tejpar defending the deep shot, looking for Hasid Sepulveda. Tejpar thinks he had the D. Sepulveda called a foul. Castaneda presiding presumably as a translator.
We see the game advisors stepping in to listen into the conversation. Again, for those of you who are used to watching USA Ultimate games, we don't have observers. Game advisors have different responsibilities, not making active calls. And from that angle, it does look like Tejpar got that block cleanly.
Well, the game advisors are only looking at the stopwatches right now, Ian. They're not particularly involved in moving this along.
It looks like this is going to be a contested foul. The disc will go back to the thrower.
If you think this is taking too long, you're not alone. Trying to replicate the exact positions from the throw, which is virtually impossible. Get as close as you can get, and here we go. Felipe Sanchez resets the disc to Daniel Montoya. Looking long for Nariño. Loritz Hermitslav comes up with a D.
We have yet to see the composure from either Oso's traditional O-line offensive unit or their D-line offensive unit. That they're going to need to surprise CUSB and persevere through this game.
Rising throw snagged by Tim Sang. Remember the Canadian World Games team in Wrocław, looking for his Canadian teammate Rumi Tejpar. The Canadian connection for the Italian squad from Bologna at the World Ultimate Club Championships.
And that's just world-class cutting awareness from Rumi Tejpar. As that throw goes up, you see him looking back over his left shoulder to spot the disc. And he realizes the flight path is going to come in over his right shoulder, doesn't change his speed, changes direction at the last second, and reels it back in.
Reminiscent of Masik Kelly to Vasiliev for Team Russia at the World Beach Championships last year in France. 3-2, Italy over Colombia here at Worlds in the US.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
Bologna leading Bogota by a break. 3-2 is the score. CUSB 3, Bologna 2. CUSB 3, Oso 2. And Kevin Brown with the disc. At a World Championship tournament, when there are plenty of uncommon names to pronounce, it's always nice to see Kevin Brown.
Don't need to check in with the coaches for a pronunciation guide on that one before the game.
Forero to the middle of the field for Afanador. I feel like I've been watching Afanador for a long time. He's been playing Ultimate 14 years and playing with Oso for 12 of those.
He's one of those few players who was a part of the 2008 World Ultimate and Guts Championship squad in Vancouver. Incredible continuity on this Oso squad that they have a few of those players still around.
Opportunity here for Oso to get a break back, and I beg your pardon, for Bologna to add to its lead. Simonazzi goes cross field. It's Geisel. 25-year-old Geisel envisions himself in the mold of Morgan Hibbert, who has joined the Oso team, a late add-on. Bologna connecting. Another break and a 2-score lead for CUSB.
Well, Santucci Giovanni, better known as Chapo, is one of the clear young leaders on this team. One of the captains of that U24 squad that took silver in Perth earlier this year. And you can tell he's fired up to be a part of this early break as the tide continues to swing Bologna's way early on in this first half.
Well, there still would be work to do, but this win would virtually clinch the pool for Bologna.
So as we look ahead to tomorrow, that's when crossover power pool play starts. And Pool E, which is the pool that both of these teams are currently in, will cross over against Pool C. And yes, there are still a few results remaining in these last two rounds, but the most likely outcome is going to have Ring finishing at the top of that pool, Ranelagh from Ireland in second place, Forward from Austria in third place, and Family Ultimate from Germany in fourth place.
So you're saying we could get a Ring CUSB crossover game?
I'm saying we're going to get a Ring CUSB crossover game if a result like this holds.
Can CUSB beat Ring if they play their best game?
I want to see their D-line offense have a little bit more patience because breaks are going to be at a premium against that Ring O-line. They've still got time to prove it to us, though. What's your take?
I think there's a large gap between Ring and Revolver and everybody else, but I would enjoy being proved wrong. Ring gave up 11 points to Is No Good. It's also hard to say because there's 29 fields of Ultimate, and I haven't had a chance to watch Ring play yet this week, but I'm certainly very familiar with their roster, watching many of their players in the AUDL season and in past years. And their collection of talent seems as suited to give Revolver a game, perhaps as well as any team in, aside from Sockeye, maybe in past years. And Sockeye, of course, nowhere to be found here at Worlds 2018. Team that has made the finals each of the last two WUCCs. Afanador pushes away from his mark. Alba fakes to Afanador. What are you seeing from the red zone spacing from Oso? Because they're going backwards and they turn it over. There was a foul on the throw.
Well, I was noticing some smart switching from the CUSB defenders that were kind of confusing Oso, and they were taking time. Their cuts weren't definitive. They were trying to take some time to reassess what their structure needed to be. And as you mentioned, Evan, we've now got 2 players behind the disc, another player all the way over on the break side. They've got to find their structure quickly here.
Looking up the line, Alba beat his defender, Bruno Mine. And an important hold for Oso, but not an easy one by any means.
The Oso O-line is just having to expend so much energy, physically, mentally, just to convert some of these holds. We haven't seen a single string or pull play work effectively, and that's a credit to the tight, physical marking defense of CUSB so far in this first half.
Oso, coached by Luis Rodriguez. Started playing Ultimate around 2002 after a soccer and basketball background. And Rodriguez works as a business administrator and also has done extensive work in the field of peace building. And he has really tried to combine those two things with Ultimate, the administration of leadership, building peace, evolving spirit of the game, and bringing all those things to Ultimate to create not only a winning, successful team, but doing it the right way. Spent a lot of time in Japan, did his master's at Tsukuba University in Japan. Now it's CUSB moving the disc on offense. Arturo Laffy connecting with Mitterer. Beg your pardon, that's Gasparini.
And some poaches and junk looks here from Oso, trying to stifle those first looks from Bologna, clog the throwing lanes and make them swing the disc back and forth multiple times before things open up.
Good patience by Sang. He took a look deep, but there was nothing there. Sang right back to Mitterer. Sang will take the shot this time. The 17-year-old Alessandro De Luca, the breakaway speed, separating himself from his defender to haul in the score. It's 5-3. Sang was telling me before the game, I asked him, which guy on this CUSB roster that you weren't really familiar with before joining them has most impressed you? And De Luca is the man he named, or the boy he named, just 17.
Well, there's a reason this CUSB squad has come to trust Sang on its offensive unit. Throws and decision-making like that strengthen the case and reward their tactical decision quite frequently.
I think Sang, perhaps inarguably, is one of the top 5 players in Canada right now, along with Mark Lloyd and Andrew Carroll. I asked Sang, who does De Luca remind you of? And he said, well, he can do it all. He's a dual threat, maybe a little bit like Cam Harris. Long-time thrower, but size to be a good cutter as well. Cam Harris playing with Toronto Goat here at Worlds.
And that's a great comparison because they've got very similar body types.
Yep.
Very lanky receivers.
I love the comparison game. You don't want it to put unnecessary pressure on a young player.
Right.
But I think it's interesting to make those comparisons.
Could we call Tim Sang a young Derek Alexander?
There's maybe a little something to that. I mean, Sang is far older than Derek was back in 2008 when he won Worlds in Vancouver. They're a little different, I would say. I think Derek is more of a pure handler.
Yep.
Tim is much more of a versatile cutter. Derek probably has the more creative throwing arsenal, not to say that Tim can't make every throw too. Kevin Brown's going deep. Alba holstered it and takes the space underneath from the break side to Herrera. And now Brown coming under. Also continues to run its offense through 3 or 4 players. Afanador, Alba. Brown wasn't open, so it's Forero.
That poach comes off the front of the stack again. The Oso offense slow to recognize it.
How could they have better taken advantage of it?
It's a tough bid there from Chapo, but I think the player that's poached has to attack that 4-side space right away.
May have been a travel, and I think the travel was called on Afanador. Two breaks so far for Bologna, none for Oso. This is an offensive point for Columbia. Day 2, round 4. One more game still to come on each of these showcase fields. Part of our wall-to-wall coverage of the World Ultimate Club Championships from Southern Ohio. WUCC on U.S. soil for the first time since 2002.
You saw Alba pointing to his receivers, wanting him to attack different spaces at the corners of the end zone, but didn't have to pull the trigger because he didn't have a mark.
Oh, Brown, nice job coming back to the disc, drops the hammer. He didn't see Edmonds, though. Thomas Edmonds gets the better of Kevin Brown there, sneaking in for the catch block. Scuber, overly ambitious. Deep the other way. Herrera rushed it, looking for Forero.
Might be the time to call a timeout. Thomas Edmonds and I are on the same page.
Let's settle down, fellas. Well, Edmonds had the great defensive play, and then his Scuber just was not necessary. And he didn't execute it perfectly, and even if it was perfect, it would have been a 50-50. We'll take the timeout too. CUSB leading 5-3 with possession.
If you want to be a high performer, eat like one. Start with a balanced diet and drink plenty of water. Good nutrition is one of the best ways to boost your mental and your physical health.
Well, neither Colombia or Italy in any division have ever won a medal at a World Ultimate Club Championships. These are two teams that have visions of changing that either this year or in the future. And I mentioned how this is the first time that Club Worlds is on U.S. soil since 2002 when it was in Honolulu. Our trivia question for this match: when was the last time that Club Worlds were held in the lower 48 states in the U.S.? Think about it. I'll give you the answer after this point.
Do I get any other hint?
If you need one.
Do I have any other lifelines?
I mean,
can I phone a friend real quick?
you've got your cell phone right there. You've got a
come
computer.
on,
so.
that's no fun. I gotta find a way to figure this out.
You want a 50-50?
Yeah.
You want multiple choice?
Yeah. Maybe I could ask the audience, get a Twitter poll
right.
going real quick.
It was either 89, 91, 93, or 95. Does that help you?
81.
89, 91, 93, or 95. Hang on. We'll focus on it after the point. While Ian deliberates, Thomas Edmonds surveys. Oh, what a catch near the sideline. He was in bounds. Tremendous effort there to keep the play alive. Is that Bruno Mine?
Looks like Mario Lozano towing the line, but
it was Bruno Mine.
things aren't boding well for my guess of when Worlds was last in the United States.
You'd think you'd have a 25% chance, but you have more of like a 10% chance. This is about a 50% chance for Bologna.
At full speed, first glance, not sure about Chapo's foul call there. He may have the best vertical on the team, but I'm not sure there was any foul play as he went up there. He and Alba summiting, and Alba had inside position. Looked like he clearly swatted the disc away. I'm not sure if Chapo's arguing that Alba came into him as he elevated, but
is having inside position a good explanation for saying it wasn't a foul? Because, I mean, clearly there's contact. Is it one player backing into the other or the backside player coming into the former? I mean, this is the gray area of Ultimate, and I think mostly it's about the rules or about trying to determine justice. What would have happened if there wasn't foul play? Is position an argument that you feel as a player can and should be used in these conversations?
I think it's part of the criteria. I don't think it's the only determining criteria, because there are times when players can take advantage of their position with extending a forearm. I think we'd have to have a much bigger conversation about how someone establishes or maintains inside position. Are they clearly running along the same course, pursuing the disc? And again, no contact on the forearm on the way up. If anything, it's body contact.
Maybe it was a little fingertip on Chapo's finger as he went for the disc, but yeah. Whoa, hang on. Now they're signaling foul, no contest after they already sent it back. That's not okay. That's just not okay. Wonder if they saw the replay. And Chapo, there is a big monitor at this end zone. Alas, Bologna with a chance to stretch its lead, and Jordan Taylor not ruled in the end zone yet. Now he is. 6'3", CUSB.
Jordan Taylor, another one of those expat pickups.
It's a funny story. Thomas Edmonds and Jordan Taylor were traveling through Europe together. They were in Geneva in Switzerland staying with Nasser Mbaye-Vogel, and he knew they were planning on going to Italy. He said, look, you got to go stay with Davide. And they were like, who? They didn't know who he was. So, of course, the Ultimate community, it's going to work. Davide picks him up in the airport in his tiny little car, They have practice the next day. Thomas and Jordan go out to practice. While they're still in town, they have tryouts for the World's CUSB roster. They ask, can we try out? They say, sure. And next thing you know, Taylor and Edmonds are on a team that's going to win their pool representing Bologna, Italy. At least that's how it's looking. It's 6-3 in the first half against Oso. Okay, the answer to the ultimate trivia question presented by Fulcrum Media. When was the last time that the World Ultimate Club Championships were held in the lower 48 United States?
Well, hats off to Twitter statistician Sludge Ultimate for pointing me in the right direction. That was 1993 in Madison, Wisconsin.
I appreciate you using your resources, and Sludge is as good a guy as any to call in for assistance in situations like this. Yeah, 93 in Madison was the third ever WUCC. The first was in 1989 in Cologne, Germany. USA teams in the open division finished 1st through 5th. Fillmore won it all. In the women's division, the Lady Condors were the first ever World Club Ultimate Champions. This event has been held, aside from Germany and Madison, Toronto in 91, the UK in 95, Vancouver in 97. Since then, St. Andrews, Scotland, Honolulu, Perth, Prague, and Lecco. Bologna, seizing control. Wide open, Ivan Cantu. Oso offense couldn't get much going, and Bologna capitalizes quickly.
Well, the Bologna zone proving too much to handle, and specifically Davide Mori's mark getting a piece of that upfield throwing attempt. And we saw this in the early morning game where Oso faced off against Clapham. Clapham's zone just seemed to frustrate the Oso handlers. They didn't have the structure or the strategy to weave through it. They tried throwing through tight windows, hammers that weren't necessarily open, and those ended up resulting in turnovers that cost them breaks. And for as much experience as this squad has, you might expect some of their handlers to have some more poise and experience navigating zone defenses.
Oso has not been able to score easily. And they've had 3 break chances, but they're 0 for 3. Contrastingly, CUSB 4 of 7 in break opportunities. And this team from Bologna, see Davide Mori, number 12, speaking to the squad. They've got some veterans. Nazar Vogel right to his left. Players from all around the world. It's a nice mix. And, I mean, we saw Colony yesterday. Mostly Australian players with Jimmy Mickle and Chris Kocher from the U.S. In a Bologna Colony matchup right now, I'm not sure I wouldn't take CUSB to beat Colony based on what we saw yesterday from the team from Sydney.
Now their defense looks much more intimidating, capable of taking away the disc. And their D-line offense appears to be much more efficient. And their O-line squad just has more chemistry and rhythm than we were seeing from the Colony squad. They survived a scare against Free Speed in the early morning rounds.
Did they really?
At one point, that game was 7-7.
Yeah, finished 15-11. Colony beat Chalk yesterday 15-12 after trailing 7-4. Colony also got a 15-7 win over Belgium Freeze Bees. So Colony has won their pool at 4-0. And they could have an interesting crossover with Canada Goat, the team from Toronto that is currently 4-0. Goat's closest game so far was 15-9 against Ragnarok. Also gave up 6, 4, and 7 in their other games. How much stock do you put into, the margin of victory in these pool play games as a determining factor for how well the teams are playing? I mean, it's a complicated algorithm of the opponent and the conditions and how loose the lines are, but when you look at that and see, well, they haven't played a game closer than 15-9 and Ring had a game of 15-11, does that sway your thinking about the top level of the men's division?
It shows me that those teams are not quite as focused and locked in early on in the tournament. And sure, you know, maybe they can flip a switch when they get to the quarterfinals, when they face that tougher competition they're used to seeing in the United States, but that's a big ask.
Revolver's closest game was 15-6. 3 games were 15-6, the other 15-2. Revolver 4-0, double wide 4-0, Ring 4-0. Kevin Brown's hammer to the end zone. Nearly caught. Mbai Vogel was there defensively, and you're going to credit the goal, saying that it was a strip, and Oso will have its 4th score.
Well, up until Brown's hammer was about to complement the Oso offense on its composure and ability to navigate the zone compared to the troubles we'd seen this morning against Clapham and even earlier in this game, and then Brown unleashes that 50-50 shot, and I'm still not convinced that this O-line can navigate a zone without difficulty.
Just running through the rest of the men's pools, mentioned the top seeds in each of the first 4 pools, all 4-0. Top seed in Pool E is 3-1. That was Clapham. CUSB got the better of Clapham yesterday. CUSB trying to get to 4-0. Toronto Goat 4-0. Germany's Bad Skid is currently sitting at 3-0 with a game against winless Devon from Great Britain separating them from a perfect pool. And then Winnipeg General Strike representing Canada. 4 wins, no losses. They had a really close game with Australia's Juggernaut, 15-13. But that Mark Lloyd-led squad representing Winnipeg will be in a power pool starting tomorrow. The higher level power pools, there are 4 teams in them, but one of your results carries over from initial pool play into the second batch of power pool play. If you finish in the top 2 of the power pool, you're automatically in the final 16. If you're in the bottom 2 of the power pool, the upper power pool, then you have a crossover game to get into that top 16. So after the power pools wrap up, you'll basically have 24 teams that are still alive out of the 40 to be the world champ. And I've rehearsed that a lot to try to understand myself exactly how this format is. I think I got it right, but I wouldn't be surprised if I mess something up because it is complex.
Twitter, feel free to weigh in on Evan's performance.
It's probably a shut up and call the game. Here's Tim Sang breaking the mark and finding his teammate Simone Gasparini in the end zone. But there was a pick, and it's coming back.
And that's the first defensive point we've seen Morgan Hibbert play this entire game. We saw him tending to some knee difficulties earlier. See if he's up to game speed here.
Hibbert, the veteran, longtime Canadian World Championship player. Here's Sang. Gasparini. Waiting for the space to open. And that's half. 8-4 for the University Sports Center of Bologna.
And if we're being honest, Morgan Hibbert does not look 100%. The way he was trying to follow his mark there around in the backfield. Granted, downfield defense, long cuts, long strides are more his game, but he was lunging on the mark, not moving his feet. I've seen him play better defense than that before.
8-4, Bologna leads Bogota at the half in this final pool play matchup in the men's division, Pool E. Bologna in control.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome, regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds.
And even defy gravity.
A place that knows grit, knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
A place where we remember to laugh.
Where we learn to trust. And eventually, even learn to fly.
A place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play ultimate, we live ultimate.
Uh-oh.
The glimmering flags at the World Ultimate Club Championships here in Lebanon, Ohio. There's that Hong Kong flag, the red with the white flower petals. Germany having a strong weekend in the men's division, and so are the Italians, Ian Toner. Bologna was shaky for stretches in that first half, but all things considered, through the 12 points, Bologna has won 2/3 of them, and that is not a fluke.
Their defense has been dictating with hard, physical, man-to-man matchups. And their offense has been pretty efficient for the most part, with the exception of a few quick D-line trigger figures. Their decision-making has been on point. And that's been the difference so far here in this first half.
When it comes to break opportunities, Osso's had a few of them but have not converted. They're 0 for 4, whereas CUSB is 4 for 8. That was one of the Osso goals, and by Vogel gave the benefit of the doubt to the Colombian player. There's the breaking of the mark and the clean delivery to Pavan, the big receiver for Bologna. Takes half for Italy, 8-4.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
No kid should have an overuse injury. Limit young ones to one sport per season, save sport specialization for later, and cross-train with your kids. Parents and kids will both benefit.
A mix of sun and clouds here at the Lebanon Sports Complex on this Monday afternoon. There have been reports of possible thunderstorms throughout the day, but so far we have remained dry. We had a brief downpour at the end of the day yesterday, but despite getting drenched for about 30 seconds, no worse for wear. Meanwhile, to our right, Ian, we can overhear the Colombian team, Comunidad al Oso, having a pretty passionate, soul-searching, I think you can put it, at halftime in this game against CUSB.
And, you know, the language barrier is something for us to overcome. I'm not entirely sure what they're saying, but I don't think they're lacking in intensity. I don't think that's what they've been missing. To be honest, I think it's purely been decision-making and adherence to their structure, releasing some 50-50 shots that they shouldn't find, and needing to adapt as the Bologna defense applies hard man-to-man pressure and switches off in the red zone.
See if they can figure it out. This Italy team, a fascinating mix of the youth that went all the way to the finals at U24s in Perth, and the veteran presence, the expats who have come from France and Switzerland and the USA to join this squad led by Davide Mori. And they've been impressive. I've been impressed with their, not just defensive athleticism, but their tactics. They mix it up. They have certainly confused Oso at times, and that's a big part of why they're going to likely be 4-0 in their pool, and how they beat Clapham, not just here, but in the Swiss draw at Windmill Windup. They have made gradual strides, and they've reached a point, I think, tactically and athletically, that combined they've never been at before from an Italian Ultimate perspective.
And the development of the Bologna Ultimate community has just fed this program so well. You've seen players starting as young as 13 or even younger, growing up in this system, training together, building chemistry, pushing each other. And now they're here on the world stage, finishing in the top 2 in the under-24 category and threatening to be a top finisher here at the World Ultimate Club Championships.
Yeah, obviously it's still very early. There is the most significant Ultimate still to come. Comunidad El Oso, on the other hand, looking like they're going to slip to 2-2 if they cannot rally. That would put them at 3rd or 4th in this pool, and fighting for their life in the 3-4 power pools. The teams that finish 3rd and 4th in each of the initial pools go into their power pools with other 3rd and 4th place finishers, and then the top 2 finishers in each of those pools advance to the crossovers to take on the bottom 2 finishers from the top power pools. The bottom 2 finishers from the 3-4 power pools are sent to consolation. Mitterer, another interesting addition to this Bologna squad. De Luca connecting with Laffy. Gasparini sees an open target. Mitterer goes up for it and through the contact. He hangs on for the Italy goal. 9-4 Bologna.
Bologna's offense not having any difficulty. Their handlers moving around, getting the lane poaches out of their way, opening up throwing lanes. And perhaps this throw hung a little bit longer than Gasparini would have liked, but Mitterer, a powerful receiver, able to attack when needed. So as you mentioned, Evan, if Oso falls to 2-2, they'll likely pick up that 3rd or 4th spot, and the crossover that they would have from Pool C would pit them against Forward from Austria or Family Ultimate from Germany. Family Ultimate just suffering a stiff defeat.
I think France's Is No Good is in the mix there too. Is No Good play in Germany family right now. Winner of that will finish 4th in that pool, I think. Meanwhile, Ranelagh and Austria are playing. They're both 2-1. Winner of that game will be in the top power pool. Loser drops into the 3-4 power pool, we think. Oso on offense. And that disc was dropped. And it's, I think, going to be a turnover. I did learn while reviewing the rule book on my flight here yesterday morning.
Some light Sunday morning reading.
Yeah, there's a difference in the WIFDIF rules compared to the USAU rules that I was not aware of. Let's say you're on the field and you go to the sideline and pick up the disc when it was out of bounds and you drop it on your way back to the field. In WIFDIF rules, that is not a turnover compared to USAU rules where you better hold on to that disc for your dear life. I'm not sure which is the better rule, to be honest.
I think the WIFDIF rule is better. If you're not in the field to play.
Edmonds to the end zone for Calarota.
Bologna fully in the driver's seat now. Just execution errors costing Oso possession. That pressure continuing to mount.
And this game for Oso has largely been more of the same from the Clapham game, which frankly they were more competitive against Clapham. It was 15-11. But Luis Rodriguez, the coach of this Oso team, told us the tight decisions yesterday that worked out became turnovers today. And in this game even more so, they just haven't been as pristine offensively. And the defensive pressure for Bologna has been too much. 10-4 now.
And this is a tough day for this Oso squad, facing the overall 5 seed, the overall 12 seed.
You ever do that with Bravo before a point?
That was never in our repertoire. The football clap, getting everyone on the same page was...
Now you guys play football on the sideline in between points. Here's Mbai Vogel, who will be 39 years old a few days after these World Championships conclude. Happy early birthday to Nas. By the way, I had my birthday last week, no big deal. And another turnover for Oso, no big deal. And a buddy called me before the game today as Bologna punches it in. And he said, Evan, I just want to be the first one to wish you a happy birthday. I said, for next year? He said, yeah, I wanted to get in early because I hadn't heard from him in a while. So he called to wish me a happy birthday about 360 days early.
That's a great way to recover.
Yeah.
You know?
I was flattered.
Don't worry, man. I didn't actually forget about your birthday. I'm just getting on the calendar early.
Yep. 11-4 now. CUSB leads Oso.
Do you think he has calendar reminders to do that for all of his friends? Call them 360 days before their actual birthday? And
that would be amazing.
Just get it in there?
That'd be an awesome gag. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it past this guy. Another broadcaster friend. 11-4. Bologna leads. And I think, you know, from our standpoint, it's a little disappointing because we were looking forward to this game for the last couple weeks as we realized that this was on the schedule. And we saw the pickups that Oso was having, bringing in Esteban Ceballos back, who's been in Montreal, Columbia kid, adding Kevin Brown, a dynamic athlete. But the tribute has to go to Bologna because they have thoroughly outmatched Oso in this game from start to finish in every aspect.
And they've found better ways to integrate their own pickups, trusting Tim Sang, Rumi Tejpar on the O-line.
That's a great point. Thomas Edmonds, Jordan Taylor.
Jordan Taylor's had a relatively quiet game so far today, but coming into this game, he was actually the leading scorer for Bologna. Had 7 assists and 5 goals in his first 3 pool play games.
Columbia was down 8-4 at the half. It's now 11-4.
And we've seen this zone defense from Bologna earlier. Davide so crucial with his suffocating mark.
Yeah, Mori doing a nice job making that reset difficult as they try to get it back to Alba. It's a difficult forward pass to Herrera. That'll create some space. Bologna, the mark of a great zone is how it recovers in unison to a big swing. And they certainly made him work for it. A cathartic kick spike for Kevin Brown, but it has been a frustrating.
Yeah, you could tell how much energy was released when he punted that disc. Not normally one to celebrate or go nuts, especially when his team's losing by such a margin, but after he's been broken so many times, got to let some of that steam out somewhere.
Mauricio Moore and the Women of Revolution, who are watching this game, just began to walk to another field.
Evan, are we going to see you take part in the Hips Don't Lie challenge before this tournament ends?
I'd say it's doubtful, but not out of the question.
Is there anything we could do to increase the possibility, you know, sweeten the deal?
Sure, I'll do it for charity.
Okay.
If we can crowdfund, say $500 for Ultimate Peace,
okay,
I will gladly do the Hips Don't Lie challenge.
Twitterverse, you've heard the stakes.
Now, just to be for the record, like, the video is not going to be good. Like, it'll be embarrassing for me. So perhaps you would enjoy that and the enjoyment that the Ultimate community would have from it. But I mean, ask my wife, ask anyone who went to a bar mitzvah with me back in the day. I am not anywhere close to anyone from Colombia, especially of the athletes, the caliber of Revolution.
Well, we could let the internet be the judge of that after we get that on video, right?
Throwing into the teeth of the defense, and the wind took that disc a little much as well. It's going to give Oso a chance to break. They're 0 for 5 on break opportunities so far in this game. By the way, the Columbia Revolution women's team is 4-0. Wrapped up pool play with a plus 29, plus 31 actually goal differential. They outscored their opponents 60-29 in their 4 games. That is the sizable differential. 4th best in the field behind Fury Brute Squad, and Riot.
Molly Brown still got its last game to play, and they're sitting at plus 27.
Yep. Molly had a close game, I believe, against Ellipsis yesterday. 14-11 or 15-12, something around there. But all 5 of the American women's teams are undefeated. Fury, Brute Squad, Ozone, Molly Brown, and Riot. 19-0. Tomorrow we'll get to see some of those goose eggs disappear as they clash in some power pool action. Which those games are always interesting. I was thinking back to London in 2012, and when we saw USA Japan in power pools, and Matsuno didn't play, and you know Japan will literally play possum during the finals, so you know they're playing possum a little bit in power pool action, preparing for down the road. I mean, the American teams in particular, so familiar with each other. That's a conversation, of course, for tomorrow. CUSB will be thinking about their power pool matchups. And certainly one of the top stories in the entire tournament, which we'll talk about after this break. CUSB in control on their way to 4-0 in Pool E.
Do you want to avoid overuse injuries? Cross-train. Get your exercise routine out of a routine and mix it up with a variety of activities. Your muscles, tendons, and joints will thank you later.
Also looking for a rally as they trail by 6 against CUSB. CUSB. They had another part of their team name that was considered controversial enough to be voided from the official program. And so we will not say the words. I think they had a great team name. It rolled off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
But CUSB, a proud Ultimate program. Not the first team to have their name censored. And some of the teams that have had to change their names have gone on to win championships, including the #1 seed in the mixed division this year. Sang, oh, that was too tall, and a rare mistake, and Sang can't believe it himself. As soon as it left his hands, he kind of put his hands in his face and had a grin like, what did I just do? Rumi, you're not 7 feet tall.
I think in still conditions without wind, I think he completes that throw 9 times out of 10, but because of that blade and the slight crosswind that we've got here, just kind of popped it up on him.
Sang, a product of McGill University in Montreal. Beautiful campus in one of the best cities that I've had the privilege to visit. Call some Ultimate games in. Have not been to Bologna or Bogota, but those are both on the list. I have a good college friend, a teammate actually, that lives in Colombia, I think in Bogota. And went to Italy a little over a year ago for the honeymoon, but never made it to Bologna.
Well, you know what you got to do? You got to hop on one of those North Carolina squads that gets an invite to TEP down in Medellin. Visit Medellin, play in Medellin, tack on a little Bogota stay at the end.
It's a great idea.
Knock out 2 or 3 birds with one stone.
I wonder if the folks at Torneo Eterna Primavera are looking for an English commentator.
I think Mauricio's right around the corner.
Yeah.
We could arrange a little conversation after this game ends.
I've heard so many amazing things about TEP in Medellin. You've been down there for that, right?
Several times before. Mauricio and His crew are first-rate hosts.
We hear that all the time. Oh, the hosts do a great job, and they do. But what makes TEP special and different?
I think
Hips Don't Lie challenge every night?
Yeah, absolutely. No.
So there's some bootleg video out there of you on some Medellin dance club floor doing work? Not out of the question by the look on his face. Continue.
Gusto is one of those clubs.
Oso. This is Castaneda into the hands of Cardenas and to the end zone. That's the first break of the game for Oso. And what was a 7-point gap is now trimmed to 5.
Well, to get back to your earlier conversation, I think the Colombians are just fantastic hosts. Whether you're staying at a hostel, a hotel, everyone wants to make sure that you're feeling welcome while you're there. Go out of your way to offer recommendations, invite you to cool events around the city. There's great nightlife taking place in several different neighborhoods. It's just a really vibrant experience every time you visit there.
What are the best meals that you eat in Medellin?
Best meals that you eat? Well, you certainly have your street vendors patrolling the TEP stadiums.
I bet.
Peddling mangoes. You can frequently hear mango, mango, mango.
This is what I'm talking about. We're getting the flavor of TEP right now.
One thing that you absolutely have to do is take the cable car up from the center of the city up to the surrounding mountains. You get some great views.
I've seen pictures. Spectacular.
One or two Instagrams from maybe every player who's ever.
Well, I didn't join Instagram until like a couple months ago, so there were other pictures, but the point remains that Medellin is gorgeous. And I remember looking at the pictures from Lecco 4 years ago, and it looked breathtaking.
A lot more water.
To the end zone, it's Gasparini. And Oso ruled him out of the end zone. The green-shirted game advisor made no signal whatsoever. Just kind of standing there twiddling his thumbs, and now he signals the goal as the Oso player was sufficiently convinced. Let's see. Gasparini, was he in? Well, that's definitive in not explaining what happened.
We get another look here. Gasparini trying to.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think his left toe was still on the ground.
My Scooby-Doo sound indicates that I was not entirely convinced he was in the end zone.
What does that make me? Am I Shaggy?
Yeah.
Okay. In any event, I do think he still had his left toe in the playing field, not quite in the end zone.
Nevertheless, it stands.
Great harmony, great unison there from the Oso line.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ian. You know, we have an international audience and certainly a large European audience and South American audience for this Italy-Colombia game. I was working with Hannah Pendleperry from the UK before, and just the different perspectives on what the role of game advisors and observers versus referees should be. You know, a situation like that, I wish the neutral party who's standing on the goal line just makes a signal. It doesn't even need to be binding. If he makes a signal, he could just play on. And there's some things that aren't really gray area things, like fouls. Like those don't need to be decided by observers or refs or game advisors. But on a in-out play on the sideline or in the end zone, why not have the person with the literal best perspective share his opinion or her opinion?
If you're trying to bait me into playing devil's advocate, I'm not taking the bait today because
you're a wise man.
We get another look at the Bologna zone here.
What stands out to you about it?
Got a very consistent mark. Davide is always owning the marking responsibilities, and he's got a lot of trust in the players filling that second tier of gaps behind those front 1 or 2 or 3 defenders. He knows that he can give up a certain look, and just as we say that, we see a rotation and Davide slides off the mark.
Foul was called, no contest.
And again, emblematic and consistent with what we saw earlier in the day, just an unnecessary hammer look. Other options to keep going through this zone, and Oso doesn't seem to be able to handle it.
Tipped out the back by Ceballos. Those are teammates. Ceballos and Mbai Vogel playing for the Montreal Royale this season. They had a disappointing finish to the year after looking like a surefire playoff team, slipping out of the conversation and getting eliminated, finishing 4th in an East Division where only the top 3 make it to the playoffs. Ceballos, he's tall. He stands over everybody in that trafficky area near him. Over the top. Oh, what a catch! Tremendous hops from Alessandro Fiorentino. And a quick dish to the end zone. I beg your pardon. That was Esteban Zuluaga. Herman Forero with the leap, and then Zuluaga with the score. And Oso has scored 3 of the last 4 to get back within 5.
And we look at how this Oso O-line has performed throughout the entire game. They've been broken 6 times, and they've only had perfect holds 3 of 12 chances.
Oso with just 1 break compared to 6 for Bologna. That pull sails about 68 yards in the air, rolls into the end zone. Oso, no other games today, trying to dial up the defensive intensity. What do you think is a reasonable ceiling goal for this Bologna team? What should they be aspiring to over the next 5-6 days?
An absolute ceiling would be a semifinals appearance. I think a realistic ceiling is a quarterfinals appearance. I think if they get a draw with one of those top 4 American seeds, it's going to be really difficult for them to break through, but I think they'd have to rely on the strength of their defense to pull them through any of those matchups.
It's going to be interesting. They certainly have a higher ceiling than they've ever had before. And, well, I'm not predicting them to make the finals. I absolutely think, upsets happen. And if all of a sudden Bologna was playing in the final, it would be surprising. But, Italy gave the USA men's team in Perth as good of a game as they had all tournament and really scared them. Wonder how those young Italians will feel about crossing paths with Jack Williams again. There's Tim Sang in the end zone. Makes it 13-7 CUSB. We'll take a timeout.
If you want to be a high performer, eat like one. Start with a balanced diet and drink plenty of water. Good nutrition is one of the best ways to boost your mental and your physical health.
Bologna in front 13-7 over Oso. Strong performance from CUSB.
And they're not wasting any time here, not resting any talent.
No.
We see this D-line. Geisel's still out there. Thomas Edmonds is still out there. Their young leader, Chapo.
Yeah, I think, Ian, the reason I give Bologna a slight edge from Colony, and granted we've seen one game from each and no other players from other, is the depth. This Bologna team seems much deeper and has a much more versatile set of players on the bench to contribute.
Yeah, thinking back to that matchup yesterday between Chalk and Colony, Colony only found its stride. So we see this shot go up to Brown.
KB in the end zone.
Eerily reminiscent of the gold medal winning goal in London at U23s when he and Logan Pruce engineered that final score.
When you played U23s in London, was it at the same field site as WGC in 2016?
So I only played in Toronto.
That's right.
In 2013, and that was at York University.
Okay.
Let's just say that York University didn't know what was coming.
Can take that a number of ways. CUSB closing in. So far at Worlds, they beat Russia's COL 15-3. And then the 15-10 win over the top seed in the pool, Clapham from Great Britain. By the way, I'm not sure Clapham is necessarily done. I think we could hear from them in bracket play like 4 years ago when they took Revolver to the brink, unlike any team has at Worlds recently. CUSB got those 2 wins yesterday. This morning beat China's Shanghai Chuchai 15-9. And now a 13-8 lead. Tejpar forward for Hermitslev. Pretty easy offense for Bologna to get within 1 of the margin required. Pretty clinical at times today, inconsistently so. But there have certainly been points when they have sliced and diced through this Columbia defense. Variety of different defenses that Oso has tried to throw at the Italians.
Yeah, scary start to that point as the Oso zone almost generated a turnover, but once that gut shot made it through to Hermitslev, he was off to the races and not looking back.
Looking at some of the other pool play, power pool matchups. Looks like Revolver and Bad Skid, A1 and G1 will be together in Pool I. Pool J will feature Double Wide and General Strike. See a little Mark Lloyd, Kurt Gibson matchup in that game.
If Mark plays defense in that one.
C1 and E1 cross pass. That'll be Ring and Cusp, as we discussed. And then Colony and Goat. Colony and Goat might be the most delectable of those matchups.
Haven't seen Goat play yet in these first few days, but Colony by no means invincible, as we've discussed at length.
There's Ceballos, the 6'4" cutter, coming through for the score. Esteban Ceballos, 29 years of age, from Medellin. He was playing in the Junior World Championships back in 2006 in Boston. Finished third in that event. 2 years later, got 5th place at Junior Worlds in Vancouver. 2nd place in the World Games last year. He's got a pretty good cabinet of medals. Where do you keep all your medals?
Like anyone else.
Like on the doorknob?
Not on the doorknob. They're hanging on a bookshelf in my bedroom. You know, one day when I'm a grown-up and I actually, you know, start putting things in important places, maybe I'll frame it and put it in a man cave, but we're not there yet.
One day when you're a grown-up and you have a man cave.
Exactly.
That's what to look forward to.
That's the criteria.
Cusp on offense. They've only been broken one time. Oso 1 of 9 on break chances. Cusp 6 of 14. This is Mitterer. And he threw into the poach, but it was attacked well by Gasparini to keep it alive. Laffey shoots it. This would do it. CUSB from Bologna, a perfect 4-0 in pool play at the World Ultimate Club Championships. A clinical 15-9 evisceration of Comunidad El Oso from Bogota, Colombia.
Well, now Bologna can turn their focus squarely on their power pool matchups against Ring and Ranelagh. And I'll tell you, the strength of their physical defense, the speed of their offensive unit is going to give teams headaches as they proceed deeper.
If you could step in the Cusp huddle and give them a little coaching about, look, you're 4-0, but you're going to need to be better, what would you say to them in terms of how they can improve the little things to give themselves a better chance against even better competition?
I think it's all about the D-line offense. A couple times earlier in that first half, we saw them off to the races, maybe taking some shots they didn't need to, turning the disc over a little more quickly than they would have liked. And when you play against a Ring O-line, if you get a turnover, you got to treat that like gold. You're not going to get that disc back every time against someone like an Oso.
Athletic plays, that was Bruno Mine near the sideline. Tim Sang and Rumi Tejpar have certainly left their imprint on this Italian roster. And a highlight of Americans, Thomas Edmonds, shooting that one deep. Oso came in with high hopes, but they finished pool play 2-2. It's Bologna, CUSB, 4-0 after a 15-9 win over Oso. For Ian Toner and our entire crew, Evan Lepler saying so long for now. More Ultimate still to come here from the 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships in Ohio.